Hello, hello, and happy Taco Tuesday. I hope that you are all having a fantastic day. If you have not seen her, hang on one second. Where is she? This is Rita. Rita celebrates Taco Tuesday with us every single Tuesday. And then we also have our lovely Taco Tuesday design that we have from Melanie Diane Howe. Shout out, Mel. Always have to give her a shout out because everyone's like, where'd you get these cool GIFs that you could share in your live stream? I'm like, I cannot take credit for them. They are from my friend Mel. So, how is everybody? Y'all, I I love Tuesdays because I don't feel like it's right after the weekend, right? Because it's obviously Monday is the day after the weekend, but it kind of gives you this like extra energy. I just have more energy on Tuesdays than I typically do on Mondays. And so I love coming here to do our live streams on Tuesday mornings. Are always so much fun. So y'all tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Yeah. Hey Rita. So Tanya D is one of our regular hanger outers here on our live streams and she knows Rita well. Anybody that comes knows my Taco Tuesday Rita. Like she's the best. She's the best. Everyone should have some Rita energy in here. Okay. So today we are talking about a few different things. First of all, we are going to talk about today's podcast episode. It was one that I have been wanting to do for a really long time. If you have never checked out my show, this is the Profit Podcast. I put out shows every Tuesday and Thursday, and we're going to talk about some updates that are coming for the podcast, as well as the YouTube channel, our live stream show, all the things. All of my content is going to get a makeover really soon, and I'll tell you why. And it's just gonna be it's gonna be awesome. And I cannot wait. So Tanya D is watching from St. Louis. Bob, hi Bob. The green guy in Vermont. Awesome. I want to know what flowers you have. Are those hydrangeas in your photo? Tell me if they are because they are gorgeous. Like it is springtime here, and on my agenda this weekend is to really get our beds ready. I should have done this earlier. I know this, but I've been wanting to get my flower beds. We have some flower beds in the back, and I wanted to get those ready for the upcoming spring, and I haven't done it yet. Oh, I'm a little behind. I'm a little behind. So I am going to be doing that soon. Lilacs. Okay. Well, those are gorgeous. Y'all, here in Texas, I love hydrangeas and I would absolutely love to have hydrangeas. It gets way too hot. It gets way too hot. So I'm in like the Houston, Texas area where it's easily 100 degrees like every day of the summer. And there's just I mean, you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, right? If you can't take the heat, get out of Houston because it is so hot between the humidity and everything in the summertime. So I'm already like planning out my garden of what I'm going to plant. And I don't really know. I don't really know yet. I should have started some stuff from seeds. And I always have this really ambitious thing may have something to do with me being an overachiever. I don't know. That's a little therapy session tucked away for later in there. But I always think like, oh, I'm going to do this big thing with my garden and have these beautiful flowers. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen this year. So, but you know what? Think about growing food too. Yes. And I have tried again. I've tried. We've been in this home since 2018. I've tried cucumbers. I have tried tomatoes. I've tried pumpkins. I have tried so many different things. And I think that my soil is just not great for all that stuff. And I know why. My mom is very much into permaculture and gardening and like landscape design, all these things. And she'll tell me all these things that I should do. And I'm like, or you could come here and do them for me or show me what you're talking about. Cause she lives 4 hours away. And I'm like, can you just, we're FaceTiming in the backyard and I'm sunburnt and trying to understand what she's talking about. Like, can you just come here and help me do this? So Hi, Amanda. So happy that you're here from Louisiana. Amanda is a new student for Profit Podcasting, and she helps bakers, which I love your picture. You look like you're icing a cake or some delicious dessert on there. And she just recently launched her show. So, Amanda, tell us what the name of your show is in the chat so we can give you a shout out and have everybody that is a baker, has a baking business, or knows someone who does, they can absolutely go check out your show. So tell us in the chat. Yeah, the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The next best time is today. Bob, these are all the things that I needed to hear. Just so true. So true. And I definitely need to work on, I want some flowers this year. I've tried to do a lot of different types of food, but I think I want to do some beautiful flowers in our backyard and then like sneak in some food here and there. Yeah. Hi, Jackie. So happy that you're here from Middle Tennessee. Y'all, this is so fun. So fun. Well, thank you for joining me today. Like I said at the beginning, we are going to talk about today's podcast episode. Let me bring it up here on the screen because if you have not listened to it yet, and it was a short episode, if you've noticed there's been a trend recently in the podcast, if you've been listening to the Profit Podcast, we've been having shorter episodes. And the only really long ones that you're hearing are me interviewing someone else. So I just want to give you that reminder. And I have a YouTube video I just recorded earlier that's going to come out on Friday that I'm talking about changes to your content and the pros and the cons and not being afraid to switch things up. But I just noticed, I'm like, yeah, this episode it was less than 20 minutes. I'm looking at here. Let me just pull this up here. Here we go. Actually, let me do it this way. This episode, in just looking down here, it was 19 minutes and 54 seconds. So it was not a long episode at all. You could digest this one over lunch and learn a little bit more about being a great podcast host, because this episode was really centered. And it's funny because y'all get to hear the behind the scenes. I share these in like these stories in different places. It just depends on, if I'm in the mood to share it or if it's the right time and right place. But this particular episode was really spun out of one simple topic that I really wanted to talk about. And just for anybody that's content planning, you're thinking about doing podcasts, YouTube, blog posts, even your emails, how I get started with my content is usually a topic or question. And the topic for this one was how to gently cut someone off in an interview. That's really where this whole idea for this episode stemmed from, because I was listening to a podcast and I kept thinking, these people are talking like, what are they even talking about anymore? They went on this whole tangent about something like, what is the point of this conversation? Like the host should have said, okay, like let's get back on track. Like let's kind of steer it back to what the initial concept was about. And this was not an entertainment podcast. This was more of an educational, hey, we typically do how-tos or we share strategies. And it was just very abnormal for this podcast to have just such a off the wall, like where is this going? What happened? And so when that happened, when I heard this podcast episode, I just got my phone out, opened Google Sheets, and put in how to gently cut someone off during an interview. And it turned into today's podcast episode, 3 important podcast interview tips for hosts, because that's more SEO friendly than how to cut someone off during an interview. So there's my little behind the scenes of how I like start with just an idea and then eventually lead to, like, in the planning stages, I came up with these 3 tips right here. And you can see it made the final cut. Like, this is one of the tips, is gently cutting someone off during an interview. But I will have the big topic. I'm like, well, I have to talk about this. It's the thing that spurred along this, thing inside of me that made me want to create this piece of content. So I need to have it in there somewhere. And I thought it was going to be the main point of the entire episode. But then as I was brainstorming, I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to, like, I need to tell people, like, remember, it's your show. You can do what you want and you have control over the final product. And like, this is total spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't listened to it yet, but go check out the episode. Oh, there was one more thing. Hang on. Let me go back. So the link on the page on crystalprofit.com/episode 344 is where you're going to find all these. Y'all, I have so many. Look at all these different YouTube videos I have to share about interviews. So I tell you in the podcast, I say go to the show notes for this episode because you're gonna, y'all, these are all of my best content about podcast interviews and interviewing people in your content. So if you are doing interviews and you feel stuck or you feel like you need a little bit of help, please go check out this. And I also have 3 other podcast episodes for you to go listen to. I don't list all of these out in the episode. I just say I have some other resources. They're going to be in the show notes. Go check them out, which is another great way. I've actually talked about show notes a few times on my YouTube channel recently, and it's because I get a lot of questions about show notes, what to include in the episode, what not to include. This is another great way to over deliver for your audience if you're going to have show notes on your website, where you don't have to sit there and list out ahead of time and say, oh, here's this one podcast episode. Make sure you go listen to episode number, blah, blah, blah. And then the title, and here's a YouTube video. Here's the exact title. You don't have to do all that. You can just say, and if you're interested in learning more about this topic, whatever the topic is, make sure you go to the show notes and I'll have some other resources. They could be your resources, like other podcast episodes or other YouTube videos, or they could be someone else's. There's been times where I will watch a YouTube video and I will embed that on the page of my blog post or my show notes, whatever you want to call them. So just a little behind the scenes. I know I feel like I just totally went off on a tangent there, but yeah, definitely go check it out. Oh, yes. Oh, Tanya, see, Amanda, here you go. You have a listener already. I'm going to check out a baking podcast. So Amanda's podcast is Baking for Business, dedicated to helping bakers and food entrepreneurs market and grow. I'm excited to listen to your episode today. Yes, like this is so awesome. I'm excited for you, Amanda. Keep it up. Like, just keep going. I feel like you have a ton of momentum behind your show right now. And I just can't wait to hear what it's like in the next few weeks and what you learn. So let me give you a little bit more advice for someone that has just launched their show, whether it's just Amanda here or anybody that's launched a podcast recently or a YouTube channel. Just know that as time goes on, you're going to figure out the different sequences that you want to do things in. If you want to record multiple episodes at once, or you want to record and then do an interview and then do a solo episode, like you're going to figure these things out based on what you enjoy. So I would highly recommend anybody that's new to creating content, pay attention to what is fun. And pay attention to what is not fun. You're like, I don't enjoy this part of the process, or there's a lot of friction. I need to really figure this out. Just pay attention to every part that is in content creation, because that's how you'll figure out your next step and the best next move for you and your audience. Awesome. Let me turn this one off. We don't need that one anymore. Then we have hello, Monique. So happy that you're here. I love your artwork up here. This is so good. So same, I can be having a simple conversation and one question will spin into a whole episode for me. Yes, this is great. So I feel like this kind of hits on the level of today's episode and the fact that like where your idea topics come from or your podcast episode ideas come from. Yes, I can have a question. What was it? Yesterday, I had a podcast interview. I was a guest on someone else's show, and he asked me a question that I'd never thought of. I'd never been asked before. And it was basically the measurability from having someone go on your website or find you on a podcast and they go and visit your site. How long does it take from that first initial visit to them becoming a buyer of your content or, of whatever products you're selling. So that initial contact with you to them actually purchasing your product, your service, whatever it is that you're selling. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. I was like, I don't have that information. I would love to have that information, that data to share with other people because I would find that highly valuable and especially be able to share, oh, on average, after one person has this many interactions with you, you can expect them to buy your product. Holy crap, that's like the holy grail of market research we would all love to have. And so that's something that I'm going to be talking about in the upcoming weeks on the podcast. And it's just a great idea. But it all stemmed from this conversation that I had with him on his podcast. So you just pay attention. You never know where these ideas will come from. But I want to go back to spinning into a whole episode for me. I thought you were going to say it could spin into an entirely new conversation because that's really what today's episode is about. It's like walking that fine line of, is this part of the conversation we should have and keep in the episode? Or is this something that we're going to cut totally later? Or what did I call it? It was casual conversation is one thing. And then irrelevant banter. I'm pretty sure that's what I called it. I know the second one was banter, but there is this fine line that you walk in conversation on a podcast episode. And this could be a solo episode too. This doesn't just have to be an interview, but there's that fine line between telling stories, having casual conversations, and then also that blurry line of what the heck are we even talking about anymore? How did we get here? How do we get back to what we were talking about? So if you're nodding along and you're like, yeah, I've had this happen to me, or this is something that happens a lot, make sure you go listen to today's episode. So those are definitely things that we needed to cover. And that's where the initial idea of how to gently cut someone off came from. But I have something else I want to share with y'all today. So let me put this up here on the screen. What did I call it? Updating Asana and my content calendar for quarter 2, 2022. I was just about to do this. It's on my to-do list to update my Asana content calendar this week. I always try to do it right before the next quarter starts or the next month starts. So as I was preparing to update Asana, I thought, oh my gosh, why don't I share this, here today? Because I think it would be really helpful for you to see what it's like as like the blank slate of my content calendar and then what it looks like whenever it's totally finished. I'm not going to go like step by step and do everything here in this video today, but I'm going to show you the big picture of what I'm trying to accomplish whenever I pull up my Asana and I do all the updates and the pieces of it that are most important to have. So let me pull up my Asana and let me share this. If y'all have any questions about this, put them in the chat while I'm going through it. Hang on. Share screen. Here we go. Now, how can I make this? I don't know. Y'all let me know if this is a good view for, do you want to see me? Is it okay if I like totally go away? Because then you can still hear me, but you can't see me. I don't know. I wish I could move grab my little picture and like move it to the other side because then it wouldn't be in the way. But I guess I could take this off. There we go. That makes it a lot better. Okay. So this is Asana, and this is my project management tool. If you've never seen any of my YouTube videos that I've done about this, you can go check them out after this training here today because it's what I live and die by. I love Asana so, so much. I've been using it for almost 3 years at this point, and it's what I look at every day when I sit down on my computer. I say, what do I have to do today? And this specifically is my content calendar. I'm going to just collapse this side so it's not as like all over the place and we can really just focus on here. But I am finishing up the month of March because when I'm recording this, it's the end of quarter 1, and these are the only things that I have to do for the rest of this month, which ends this week. So what I would do if I wanted to see everything that I've done in the month of March is you could come and go to all tasks. Be prepared. There's going to be a lot of information. So these are all the pieces of content that I've published in the month of March. And you can see it has all of these dates on here. The assignee is myself because I'm the one that's working on all the content for my business. I could also sort it by due date. Okay. Like this is from March 1st and beyond. It just goes in chronological order of when everything was published. I had to set this up. So this is not something, let me go full screen here for a second. If you want to have a content calendar that works really well and reminding you, hey, this is when this is due, your email newsletter or your post for social media, your podcast, your YouTube video, all of the things, then you have to set up the system to where it will work out and tell you this is when this is due. This is like who's going to do it. This is the category that it's in. So there is some legwork up front to make this happen. Oh my gosh, y'all, it is a game changer. If you struggle with time management or project management, this is a game changer because I felt really stressed out not having a handle on when content was due, what I really needed to work on, or if I happened to have a cancellation in my calendar and all of a sudden I had an hour free in a week where I thought I'm just going to be packed to the max, I'm not going to have time for this. I didn't realize, oh, this is how you're able to batch content because when you have that hour free in the week, I could go to my content calendar and say, oh, okay, well, I have 2 podcast episodes that I need to do for next week or the following week. Why don't I just go ahead and record them right now when I have this hour free and then I'm ahead? People ask me all the time, how do you get ahead in your content? How do you make sure that you're on track? How can I do things ahead of time and batch and have area in my calendar to repurpose? This is how I do it. It's because I have all of this information ready to go and I update it on a regular basis. And before a new month starts, especially before a new quarter starts, I go to my calendar and say, am I on track? Have I done all the things that I need to do? And how can I set myself up for the next quarter? So that's all my precursors, my disclaimers for why I do this, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are saying, it looks like a lot of work. That looks like a pain in the butt. I don't know that I really want to do that. It is work until you get it figured out and have a system that works for you. Again, I've been using this for 3 years at this point. I know the ins and outs of how this works. I know some of the shortcuts. I know how to do things in bulk. But whenever I first got started, it was just a game changer to be able to open up an app that said, today, all you need to do is A, B, and C. Don't worry about D, E, F, and G. We just need to do A, B, and C today. That is what is due today. So if that's what you're looking for, highly, highly recommend Asana. So you can go to crystalprofit.com/Asana to try it out. It's actually, I'm an affiliate, I'm a partner with them. And I love it so much. I'm just going to keep talking about it. So I will shut up and get to what we're actually talking about today, because as you can see, I'm looking like this. It's a blank slate. It is a blank slate for the month of April. I don't have all of my due dates in here. I don't have the assignees, which is myself, and I could just go in and do a bulk update and assign all these things to me. But what I wanted to show you is I did this for the whole year. I did this in January. It was the end of December, early January. I went in, it was a lot of just copy and pasting. I spent about an hour and I did this for every single month of the year. I know you're like, Crystal, holy crap. That's a lot. Like, you did this. Yes, I did. Look, we're in September. You can keep going. October, November, December. I did it for the whole year. And then once you can see January is done, I archive it at the very bottom. So I still have this information Here, I just don't need it. So I will collapse these. There's February, and then March will live at the bottom when we're done. That way, if I need to go back and reference, because this is where I do it, I plan my content in here. This is where I plan it. My YouTube videos, my podcast episodes, I will plan them in Asana. So if I need to go back and reference something, I can do that here. Plus, this is all searchable. You can see the little search box up here. I could look up something and see, well, when did I create that? When did I talk about that? And like I could just search for it here, which makes it a lot easier. All right, now let's go back up here to April. And I'm going to show you if I were doing this right now, which like I said, I'm not going to do this right now, but if I were to update all these right now, I would go in. Here's a weekly email one, for example. If you were to do this for yourself, you would look at the April calendar and say, okay, I want to send one email a week to my list. When do I want to send those? I want to send them every Friday. That just so happens to be when I send out my emails to my email list. If you're not on my email list, you can go to crystalprofit.com and go all the way to the bottom of the page, and you can subscribe to our email list and get weekly updates, all the things that I have here. Like you can see, I send one out every Friday, and I share updates, tips, strategies, things that I don't often share in other places, a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories in my emails that I don't have time to share all over the place. And I will sometimes save those, especially for my email list. So get on there if you're not on there yet. But if I knew I wanted to share these every Friday, I could come into the due date column and let me see, let me get into April. So April 1st, and then now it jumped up. Do you see that? It did that because it's sorted by due date. I could do this alphabetically and it wouldn't change every time I did it. But I am just going to go through and do all of the weekly emails need to happen every Friday. This is just going to get in the way. Let me move this one down. Whoops. Grab it. Move it down. Oh, it won't do that because it's not sorted the right way. Let me sort them alphabetically, and that will make it happier. And let me go back to just the incomplete tasks. Okay. Now, weekly emails. 1, 8, 15. Then we have the 22nd. And then we have the 29th. So now, whenever I look at my tasks, when I first open Asana, if it were a Friday, it would tell me, hey, you have a new email that needs to go out. And it would say exactly like, hey, this is when it's coming out. This is when you have to do it. And then the other thing I would do is assign these to myself. So I'm going to go, oops, I always do that in here. Always forget there's certain keys. It doesn't not all of the quick keys work in Asana the way they do in regular Windows. But if I highlight all these, all I did was hold down Shift and highlight all these, then I can assign them all to myself. And then that lets me know, hey, this is when these tasks will actually populate and go into my queue that says, hey, this is what you have to do this week or in the next few days. Now, I could keep doing this. I could sort these by tags and just do all of the ones that are for the podcast or all the ones that are for the Facebook group. But I just sit there and I spend, again, it could take me 20, 30 minutes to do this. But then once I do it for the month, it's done. It's done. I don't have to go back and do it every single day it's done. So I just expect to spend about 30 minutes or so at the beginning of each month updating this. And it's one of the reasons why I don't do the entire year. This is a really important point. I don't do the entire year and fill in all the due dates and all the assignees, because what if I were to hire someone on my team? Or what if the dates need to change and I'm not going to publish this specific content at that time? I want to have that flexibility, but I at least have the shell. And that's really what's most important. You want to have the shell of what you're doing with your content calendar laid out. That way, whenever you do go in to make changes, manipulate dates, or change who something is assigned to, then you have that information like manipulatable. Did I just make up a word? I don't think that's a word, but it's good. It's good. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I hope that this was helpful. I wanted to do this quick training on Asana and just let you know that it's, again, my favorite place to plan my content, but it's also something that I use every single day. And I have the app here, I have the app on my phone, I have the app on my iPad. Like, I can use this anywhere. So if I do have, like what we were talking about earlier, a spark of inspiration, then all of a sudden a topic comes to mind, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here's like 3 or 4 ideas on that. I can go into a specific podcast episode and add those notes in there. That way, when I go to record, I already know this is exactly what I want to talk about. These are the tips that I want to share. These are the stories that I have, and everything is consolidated in one concise place. But that's all I have about Asana. I just wanted to share that because I thought it would be super, super helpful. Now, what questions do y'all have? We always do Q&A at the end of these things, and I would love to know what questions you have about content. And I wanted to talk about some upcoming changes. So there are going to be some changes in the content, and our live stream is going to be moving. I don't know where. I don't know when. And by that, well, I know where. We're still going to be here, right? We're going to be on Facebook, YouTube, like all the places where I typically go live. But we're going to be changing for Q2 when our live streams are going to happen. And it may be early in the morning, like very early in the morning, or it may be later in the afternoon. So just be on the lookout for that. Next week may be our last one at 10 a.m. Central, and I'll know more definitively, like details and all that stuff next week, and be able to share with you. I guess, if you have feedback, I'd love to hear your feedback. If you have a suggested time, I may actually move this to a lunchtime live stream that we do once a week. So maybe Taco Tuesday in the kitchen with Crystal. If y'all don't know this, it's on Tuesdays. I'm sure I always feel embarrassed sharing this. I don't know why. It's not an embarrassing story, but it's also something that's like, wait, what? You do what? At lunchtime, because we legitimately have tacos every Tuesday. Like, it's not just something that I say and I celebrate. Like, we literally, like, my kids know if they come home and they say, what's for dinner? It's taco. And I'll say, what day is it? And I'm like, oh, it's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. So I will make my taco meat and my rice and beans or whatever we're having for dinner on Taco Tuesday at lunchtime. I've done this for years now. I don't even know how many years it's been, but there was a blogger I was following. Shout out to Jennifer. She's at the Intentional Mom blog. She has 9 children. She has lots of kids, and she's a stay-at-home mom, and she spun it into a blog, like all the things that she was sharing, especially for large families. And she shared this tip one time that was like, if you are making dinner at dinner time, that is the witching hour. And I've never forgotten it. And like, it's just one of those things that has stuck with me forever. And so I typically don't make dinner at dinner time because I'm usually so tired from the day. So there have been times where on Tuesdays, I'm making taco meat at like 7 a.m. And the kids are like, really? Really? Like, why does it smell like tacos? They come in the kitchen getting ready for school. They're like, why does it smell like tacos in here? I'm like, I'm making taco meat for dinner. And then I had actually made a plan today to batch. Speaking of batching, I don't just batch my content, I batch cooking. And I had set aside a whole bunch of meat today. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of taco meat, and then I will freeze it and then use it next time. So you didn't know you were getting kitchen hacks when you're coming on today's live. Yeah, exactly. Yes. We're pretty serious about the tacos here, Monique. If you did not know that, like it's a thing. I make really awesome guacamole. We have awesome tortillas. We have rice every week. I actually I'm not on a diet, but I'm kind of like playing around with some healthier food options, and I had made a bunch of quinoa yesterday. So I'm like, oh, I can have quinoa and just a little bit of rice that I normally make, and then beans, and like it's a whole thing. Like y'all don't even know about my cooking. I love to cook. Love it, love it, love it. But I apply the same principles in cooking that I do in my content, which is being prepared. I batch as much as I can, and I like to have a plan. Like I just it's my personality. Like it's legitimately one of those things. It's like a through line of my life. I batch, I repurpose. Okay? Like let's use this little cooking analogy here, cuz even if I batch a whole bunch of taco meat and the kids are like, "We don't want to do tacos," then I'm like, "Okay, quesadillas, enchiladas, like we have some options with this meat here. It's not just it has to be used for tacos." So anyway, I feel like I'm bringing out my real nerdy side today. Oh my gosh, I'm like getting red. I'm like, oh, a little embarrassed. But y'all got to give me some questions. What questions y'all have? Give me some content questions, specific questions, things that you're facing. Let me know. And if y'all are just now getting here, don't forget we gave a shout out earlier to Amanda, who just launched Baking for Business. So if you have a baking business or you know someone that does, tell them to go check out her podcast. And yes, Demo with Mo. So Monique has the Demo with Mo podcast. You need to go check it out. It's for, okay, I'm going to get this. Dating, engaged, married, objectives. Oh, look, I cheated. I looked at the end. I saw on your I saw your podcast artwork. I was like, what is the O? I always forget what the O is. Yeah, objectives. So you do need to come to Texas. Mexican is my absolute favorite. It's just one of those things that I love so much. So my family is Mexican, and I have so many fond memories of my grandma cooking tortillas and beans and just like all, and this is my great grandma, like all the amazing things that I'm so grateful. Okay, this is really funny. I'm actually going to give a shout out to my mom. Y'all have got to go watch. She has a YouTube channel, and she has the best tortilla recipe. It is my grandma's tortilla recipe. And I'm going to share it right here with you today. Oh, look, she's getting close. She's getting close to having 1,000 subscribers. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yes, no, you have to go. I think that her tortilla video is like the most popular. Okay, so let me go share my screen here. So you can look up Nanette Blair on YouTube, and it's this video right here. I'm not joking. Look at that. She's got 19,000 views. Ooh, go mom. That's my mom. You can like go see my whole family on this. This recipe is legitimately the fluffiest tortillas like ever. They're so good. Oh my gosh, they are so freaking good. Like, and I've tried it. They turn out good, but they don't turn out as good as hers. So you have to go check it out. So there you go. Shout out mom. I need to like we need to do like a premiere and watch her video and try to make them, because oh my gosh, they are so good. If you want other like tips, then go check out her YouTube channel. I'm gonna have to tell her. Like, I sent a bunch of people to your YouTube channel today, so let me know if you get any other hits. But that's all I have for y'all today. So reach out if you have any other questions, and be on the lookout. I'm gonna make an announcement soon of when we're gonna move our live stream. Because I do want it to be again on this consistent basis. I love Tuesdays. I think Tuesdays are a great day of the week to keep them, but we may move it to a lunch hour or before hours, after hours type thing. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So let me know y'all's comments on that. But that's all I have for you. So everybody have a fantastic Taco Tuesday. One more time for Rita. One more little shimmy shake. Like, oh, y'all just have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you later. As always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Bye, y'all.